Welcome to Total Technik. In this video we're going to be showing you how to remove the upper and lower steering wheel cowls for the Audi A4, S4 and RS4, both the B6 and B7 models. Let's go. Okay, we're going to look at removing the airbag from the B7. This applies to the A4, S4 and RS4, Avant Saloon and Cabriolet, all the same. The only thing to note with this, this is the newer one, the 3-spoke steering wheel, the B7. The B7 airbag is a dual stage as opposed to the B6, the older model, which has a single stage airbag. So make sure you're familiar with the differences between the B6 and the B7. But if yours is a B7, which is basically 2005 through 2007, your steering wheel should look similar to this, and your airbag should be this shape, and this is the dual stage airbag. You can leave the positive connected, so you shouldn't lose any of your stereo settings or anything like that. Okay, so first thing to do, obviously remove the battery cover, as most of them are. Unfortunately this one is broken, but usually just follow the arrows, slide it to the side and lift it off. And all we need to do with a size 10 ratchet spanner, to just disconnect the negative, like so, and just tuck that out of the way. Okay, just having a quick look from this angle. There's 2 screws that hold the airbag into the wheel, and if you look on the side here, this little semicircle shape just there, those are actually the screw cap covers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manoeuvre the steering wheel into a position where I can get a bit more angle onto it. I need to remove these covers, and then below these are 2 Torx 30 screws. The first thing is to get these covers off. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn this through 90 degrees just to give us a little bit of access to removing the screws. So we put the key in, turn it 2 positions just to make sure that the steering lock doesn't come on. And we just turn it through 90 degrees like so. Okay, so now we've turned the wheel through 90 degrees, going to get this cap off. Now very carefully with the hook torque, you press it in very gently, like so, and just push the whole thing sideways, pops out very easily, and remove the cap. Okay, so next we've got to remove the Torx size 30 screw that's in here. It's actually seated at a 45-degree angle. So when you put your tool in to access this, it doesn't go straight in like you might think. It's actually a 45-degree angle. Because space is limited, I find the best thing to do is to put in a Torx 30 bit, like so, and get a size 10 ratchet spanner, and just loosen it off in this manner. Now that screw doesn't actually come out, it stays in the steering wheel. So what you want to do is just keep undoing it, and you want to undo it far more than it actually needs. It's probably already undone, I can hear it clicking. But you can't undo it too much because, like I say, it will stay in situ. So just give it a load of twists until you're happy that it's probably disconnected, like so. Okay, so we've removed the screw on the one side. That's now all we need to do is just turn the wheel through 180 degrees, like so. Now to give us access to the other side. So exactly as before, just remove the screw cap and then remove that screw. Okay, so with the 2 screws removed, you find that the whole unit's nice and loose. This can just be moved carefully forward. Now don't pull it out too quickly. So obviously you've got your electrical connections on the back, like so. Now if you have a quick look on here, what we have on the rear here are the dual connections, the dual stage airbag, as this is the B7 model. The B6 only has one of these, the B7 has this dual stage airbag. And you also have a couple of spade connectors there. You've got 2 options. You can either remove these 2 just by simply inserting a little screwdriver under the lip, popping that centre yellow section up and then pulling the whole clip out, and then disconnecting the 2 spade connectors. Or, as is the recommended method of doing it, we can remove this connector on the inside of the wheel. Now if you have a quick look at this, obviously you've got the airbag going into one side. You've actually got another connection that comes out the other side of this plug down to a second plug down here. Your steering wheel may not have this. This is one of the options. So it may not have this. If it hasn't, then it makes it nice and easy. This one has. So you see on this yellow connector, there's a little purple tab on the top of it. Now what I need to do is just pull this purple tab up back towards me, and then the whole plug should come out like so. And then, like I said, we've got this on this particular car, we've got this additional plug down here. Should be trying to lift that up on this side here, like so. That's better. There you go. And once you have that disconnected, your airbag's ready to go. The B6 model has this triangular 3-spoke shaped airbag, as opposed to the B7, which has a perfectly kind of rectangular square shaped airbag. So it's very distinctive. This is the B6 style of airbag here. Pop your bonnet up and disconnect the black connector from the battery before we move any further. So get that done and we'll carry on. So once we've disconnected the battery, what we're going to look at doing is creating a little bit more space for ourselves. So we're just going to put this into a bit of an easier position to work from. So if you make sure, in case your steering lock is on, make sure your key's in. Yeah, it is on this one. Release your steering lock. And what you're going to do is pull it all the way up and all the way out as far as you'll go. And we're going to lock it in that position. Now we're going to be unscrewing the bolts that connect this on. You can actually do it from the top or from underneath. What I'm going to be doing this time is I'm actually going to be doing it from underneath. Which is why I've kind of moved it up rather than down. But you can do it from the top or the bottom, but we'll take a look at that now and I'll show you where the bolts are. So first of all, I'm just going to quickly show you where the holes are located, which give you access to the bolts to remove this. It's actually on the rear of the steering wheel. If you come around the rear there, hopefully you can see that just at the end of my finger there. We have that little hole in the back of the steering wheel itself. That hole in the back of the steering wheel gives you access to the Torx screw that actually holds that on. So you see we've got one here, and we've got an identical one on the direct opposite side of the steering wheel as well. So that's what we're going to be working on. So to allow us to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the steering wheel through 90 degrees, like so, and that will give me access, as I'm going to be working from below on this, that will give me access to this this bolt hole here. So we'll grab the Torx bit and we'll get this removed. Now I find the easiest way is to actually use a Torx bit. This is a Torx size 30 and a size 10 ratchet spanner in this manner. You can do it with a small wrench and a socket if you prefer. I find this to be the easiest way. Now, like I said, this is a Torx size 30. When you insert it into the hole just here, note that it doesn't go in straight as you'd think it is. It's kind of on almost a 45-degree angle, so sometimes it can take a little that's gone straight in. Hopefully you can see the angle on that isn't straight, it's at 45 degrees. You can slacken this off, and it doesn't actually need much to crack it off. And note that the bolt doesn't actually leave the steering wheel, so after we've removed the airbag, this will actually stay in situ. Now, the easy way to tell if you've undone it enough is as you turn it, you should hear it clicking each rotation as it gets to the end of the thread. So that's fine. So what we'll do now is we'll rotate the steering wheel 180 degrees, and that will give us access to the hole on the opposite side. And we're going to do exactly the same on that side. So let's get that done, and then we can look at removing this from the car. So we've now removed the two Torx screws that are in the rear of the steering wheel here that hold this airbag into place, and those are the only two things that actually hold this airbag into situ. I'll turn this back to the centre, be a little bit more easy for you to see. But if you give it a wobble, you can see that the whole thing is ready to jump out now. There are electrical connections on the back of here, so don't just think you can just take this straight off. You have to lift it up carefully to gain access to the wires that are behind that. Okay, so when you do pull this forward, do be careful, because you do have the wires that are already there that need to be disconnected. Okay, so if I lift this forward and up carefully so you can see, that'll show you the electrical connections that are within this airbag here. As you can see, you've got two plugs. You've got a yellow plug here that connects through into the squib or the clock spring. Now if you want to disconnect that, you've also got several of these kind of spade connectors as well that also need to be disconnected. You may have additional kind of connectors as well, all come through this depending on what optional extras you've got fitted to your car. But that's one option. The yellow plug's very easy to get out, but the spade connectors can be a little bit of a pain. The other option, which is what we're going to look at, is to attack this this purple plug with this yellow insert here, because once you've disconnected that, it's only the one plug. You haven't got to worry about any of the spade connectors or anything of that nature. So we'll take a look at this now. So to disconnect this, you need a small flathead screwdriver. Just press that into the end. There it comes. Almost out. And the yellow part does actually need to come out quite a way before it will release. There it is. So there's a little bit of a fiddle. Like I say, you've got to pull it out a little bit further than you think, but that's how you disconnect that. Now, if you zoom out a second, you can see that is your airbag, completely 100% removed from the car and good to go. Okay, so having a quick look at what's required to remove this steering wheel. See in the centre we've got this rather large bolt, and inside that bolt you will see there's actually an M12, which is quite a large spline bit that's required to actually get this out. That's what fits in there. Okay, now not all sets of bits come with these as standard. These splines, most have Torx, most have hex, but not many kits come with these spline bits. However, you can get these bits in little sets on eBay very cheaply, so well worth taking a look at if you don't own them already. Maybe £5, $7 or $8, something like that will buy you a little cheap set of these spline bits. But you need an M12 to actually fit into there, so make sure you've got one of those, and we can move on. Okay, so I'm ready to start attacking the bolt in the centre of the steering wheel. I've got my M12 spline bit on here, and what I've done, I've actually ensured that I've got an extension bar that's long enough so that the actual handle of the wrench doesn't touch the steering wheel. It's not going to scuff the steering wheel as we try and undo it in this manner. If you use one that's too short, obviously you can rub on the leathery steering wheel, might end up causing your steering wheel damage. So make sure that this is long enough. And the only other thing that we need to do, as we're going to be putting pressure into the centre of the wheel, is to ensure that your steering wheel lock is on by removing the key. Okay, once you've done that, the steering wheel itself can't move away, and so we can actually put a bit of force onto this without the whole wheel turning at the same time. So let's get that removed. Okay, and one thing to note when you're removing this is they can be on fairly tight, so you may need a fairly long wrench to get this out. The reason that they're quite tight and they remain quite tight is usually from the factory they actually put like a nut lock onto the thread of the bolt, as you'll see hopefully, unless this one proves me wrong, when this comes out in just a few seconds. Now obviously when you come to reinstall this, it's a good idea if you've got it available to put some nut lock back on it. However, don't put too much on. It's surprising how little you need. Okay, now very important, once you've removed this bolt, do not go ahead and pull the steering wheel off. There's a couple of very important things that I'll cover in a second before you remove that. Okay, but let's get rid of that bolt. As you can see, hopefully on the bolt there, you can see a ring of blue. That's the nut lock that's factory fitted, as I mentioned before. What the nut lock does, essentially, it stops the fixing from ever kind of rattling free. It helps secure it. It's almost like a very light glue, if you like, that glues it in place. But it's not too strong, so when you put pressure on it, you can easily break that seal again. So that's the bolt removed. Like I said, do not at this stage actually remove the steering wheel. There's a couple of very important things we need to do beforehand. So let's take a look at those. Now, one thing to bear in mind before you actually remove the steering wheel itself, which I'm going to show you in just a second, okay, is the clock spring, or the squib here that sits underneath your steering wheel. Now on some models of cars, thankfully generally not Audis, but on some models of cars, when you remove the steering wheel, the clock spring is free to move and the whole thing will spring round, and it will all go out of sync, and then you've got to try and manually wind it again. Now you don't have to worry about that, so don't panic on anything to do with the clock spring, because thankfully on the Audi they've actually got you. I can show you just here. I'm going to hold the clock spring in situ. So the clock spring can't move out of the position it is at the moment. You've actually got this little spring lock here. Now that allows you to move it fully. But we're not going to do that. So basically, as soon as you pull the steering wheel off, which you're going to do in just a second, it will lock that because this will spring out, and so you do not have to worry about your clock spring going out of alignment, which is very, very handy. Nice little design from Audi. Wish all manufacturers did this. Unfortunately, not all of them do. So that's a nice little thing. But don't panic on the clock spring. That won't affect the removal of the steering wheel. Now, the second thing you need to do before you actually remove this wheel from the column, very, very important, is as you can, well, hopefully you can see this on the video, the teeth that are around this kind of circle that are actually on the column here, very, very fine. So it's very easy if you just get it kind of 1 or 2 teeth off, your steering wheel will be off center. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to mark this before you remove it, so when you come to put the wheel back on, you can make sure that you get it exactly straight, because you know you've got such small tolerance between the notches in this that it's very, very easy to get it wrong. Now, if you look very, very clearly in the center on your steering wheel, you actually see there's a little indentation. Hopefully you can see that at the end of the screwdriver there, just there. Okay, that's a factory mark. Okay, so your steering wheel will have that. Now that is the dead center of the steering wheel itself. Okay, so what we need to do is we're going to put a little mark onto the end of the column here, just on here, that will allow us to realign these when you come to put the steering wheel back on. Very, very important that you do this before you remove the steering wheel. What you want to do, sure that's clean, you want to get a very, very fine, if you can, fine tip permanent marker. I'm just going to lean in. I just want to make sure I get this 100% in line. So I do apologise if I block your view for a second. Like so what I've done there is I've put a small line that's directly in line with the mark that illustrates the dead centre of the steering wheel. So now I can safely remove this. So all you do is you pull it forward, and that is your steering wheel completely removed from the car. And like I say, the importance of that mark is when you come to fit this back up, that will allow you to ensure that you get it exactly as it was before you removed it. So it's really, really important that you put that little mark on it. As soon as you've done that, you've removed this plug, just remove the whole thing gently from the car, and that is your steering wheel removed. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is just remove your dash end panel here. That'll give you access to the bolts on the side here. These are very, very easy to remove. There's a little notch cut into the bottom. Just come up under the notch with a screwdriver or a trim tool, pop it off, and the whole thing will come off like so. Once that's done, it's going to give you access to the first of the bolts that we need to remove, this one right here. All of the fixings on this are size 8, so just undo that with your size 8 socket, like so, and move on to the next. Okay, the next fixing we need to remove is actually down underneath, just in here at the end of my finger. It comes up at a 45-degree angle. I don't know whether you can see that in there, but just in there, that's the next fixing to come out. Okay, so we've just removed the 45-degree angle bolt here that's holding it in. Now we've got one that's exactly the same, but on the opposite side, just under there. Yeah, so again, 45 degrees on the opposite side, right next to the center console. That's the next one to be removed there. Okay guys, so we've removed the screw from the side and the 2 screws from the bottom on this panel. So it's now ready to come out. There isn't an upper screw on the console side. There's only an upper screw on the outside. One important thing to note is when you pull this off, there is actually one electrical connection connected to the back of it, and that's for the OBD, which is your diagnostic socket, which is the diagnostic socket located at the back here, which I'll show you when I drop this down. So when you drop it down, try and drop it down quite gently. You don't want to be, ripping the wires or the attachments on the back of that plug. So what we're going to do, just give it a bit of a wobble. You see it unpops here on this side. It's going to do exactly the same on the other side as well. Like so. And then the whole thing drops down. And this is the connection just here that I was telling you about, which is your OBD, your diagnostic. It does just push out. You see this little catch on here, wasn't quite snapped in. Normally you've got to pull that in and pull it out. That's your diagnostic socket there, so be careful that you're not putting any undue strain on that. And also, I did forget about this, you can see at the back there is the connection for the footlight, just there. That's what illuminates the footwell when you get into the car. So just wobble that side to side. And pop that off like so. And then this whole unit is free to be removed from the car. So the first thing that we need to do is there's a couple of Torx screws right in the front here. Now if I can show you this. It's a slightly specialist tool. This is a Torx size 8, which is a particularly small Torx screwdriver, and you need to ensure, I had to buy this specifically to do this job, and this is literally the only job that I do generally on these Audis that actually uses this Torx size 8 screwdriver. But you need to ensure it's got a fairly long blade. This one is 7.5 centimeters, 75mm. In length, this blade here, and that's just about long enough. Any shorter than that and you're going to struggle. But if you have a look just to the underside just here, hopefully you can see that screw hole nice and clearly there. And of course there's an identical one over on the other side just here. So what you want to do, as you can see, it's just long enough. Unscrew the two screws. I think to bear in mind, they are actually quite long, so I tend to unscrew them much more than is actually needed. And what you'll find is sometimes the screw won't come out like so. Sometimes if you're lucky you can give it a bit of a tap and it will fall out. Not today. So do the same on the other side here. You can just see there, hopefully you caught that, the first screw that I did has actually fallen out now. So, that one's not going to fall out, it probably will randomly in a second or so. So that's the first thing to do, is get those two Torx size 8 removed. And these are the little Torx size 8, you see tiny little screws, but they are actually quite long. So like I said, you're best kind of unscrewing them far more than you need, just to ensure that they actually come out. And then, like I say, if you give it a bit of a tap, hopefully you will get both of the screws that come out like so. But that's the screws that you need to get out first. So with the two small hex screws removed from the front, what we need to do is now come down to the underside. If you drop your steering wheel adjustment lever to a down position and have a look up inside, you can see just off the side there's a small little indentation in the plastic within which you will find a size 4 hex screw. So that's the next one that needs to be removed. Now one thing to note, there are little kind of plastic clips that hold the top and the bottom half together. You see they don't exist on the front, but they do exist towards the back. So first thing to do, I'll try and do it on your side so you can see. Just try and pop those apart a little bit like so. As you can see, there's a kind of a little plastic clip there that holds these together. We'll do the same on the opposite side. Now, the next thing you need to concentrate on is you've got this this rubber. Hopefully you can just see that there. This little rubber section that sits around the key chamber here. What we want to do is I kind of put my finger on the inside, actually try and take the rubber section with the cowl, like so. So as you can see, the cowl's now completely loose and is ready to come off. There's a little trick to getting this off that I'll show you now. Okay, so as you can see, it's completely free. The only thing that's stopping it coming off of the car is your lever for your steering wheel column adjustment. Okay, now the trick to getting this off is to kind of try and twist it at a slight angle. It's a little bit awkward. This is why we have to remove the lower panel really to get the access to it. But as you see, I kind of put it over, twisted it and took it back, and you can get it off. So that's the key to it. It's kind of giving it that little bit of a twist. But that is your lower steering wheel cowl completely removed from the car. Now if we take a quick look here, once we've removed the lower dash panel, I've just removed this as a size 8 screw here that sits in the end of the decorative trim, because as you can see on this decorative trim here, it's the same screw that holds in the section, the metal frame that attaches to the end of the cowl. Hopefully you can see it rattling away in the centre of the screw hole there. It actually sits on top of it. So you've got to remove that size 8 screw to give you a little bit of movement here, and exactly the same on the opposite side. I've just done it here as well. You can see exactly the same principle just here. So you've got to remove those 2 screws, and then we can move on. So on the upper steering wheel cowl, you have the plastic section, and attached to that is like a cloth kind of leatherette type section, and on the end of that is like a kind of a metal frame, a metal curved frame, and that's kind of what holds this in situ. So that's the bit that you need to get out. So as you can see, you know, the whole thing's pretty much ready to come out. It's just the metal frame that we need to pop out from around the sides here. So a little bit of manipulation. Just be patient and take your time with this, and it will come. You just kind of got to know where to press it. You'll feel it if you do it stage by stage. So we'll take a quick look at that, what we just did there. As you can see, there's actually plastic on this one. On some of this frame's metal, makes no difference. But you can see your plastic sections attached to this kind of leather effect section, which attaches onto this frame. So that's the frame that we need to remove, and that's why we needed to remove those 2 screws from the end of the decorative trims, because, like I said before, the end of the decorative trim sits on top of that, and then the whole bolt goes through the centre of everything. Okay, so with those screws in, you'll never get this removed. So that's it. That is your upper steering wheel cowl removed.